Well, just hours after threatening full-scale military intervention, President Trump has dramatically backed down from direct war with Iran. On the 8th brutal day of relentless conflict continues to rage between Israel and Iran, claiming hundreds of lives. Now, the White House has announced a 2-week window for potential diplomacy.
Then a real end, not a ceasefire, an end.
Sirens wail over Tel Aviv and Tehran as the 8th day of the Iran-Israel war dawns with fire and fury. The world holds its breath, missiles streak through the night, hospitals burn and nuclear sites smolder. The tension of a single question now matches the echo of bombs. Has Trump blinked? Or is this the calm before an even greater storm? America, which has been preparing for maximum pressure, now signals that the time has come for diplomacy with Iran.
I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Iranian foreign minister is meeting representatives from Britain, Germany, France and European Union in Geneva. Ahead of the meeting, he says Tehran is not seeking negotiations with anyone as long as Israel continues its strike on Iran.
Let me make the position clear. Under the current circumstances, and as the Zionist regime's attacks continue, we are not seeking negotiations with anyone, especially not with the United States, on this matter. It is the Americans who are seeking negotiations. They have sent messages multiple times, including very serious ones.
Israeli military released these images showing the latest attacks on Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it clear that Israel will not wait for a US green light to continue its military campaign against Iran.
I'm determined that we will achieve all our goals, all their nuclear facilities. We can do this, but the decision of the President, US President Donald Trump, whether he wants to join or not again, is his decision. He will do what is good for the United States, and I will do what is good for the State of Israel.
As the US weighs direct involvement in the Iran-Israel war, one move signals caution, shielding its military assets. Satellite images reveal that nearly 40 American aircraft have vanished from Qatar's Al Udeid base, while dozens were visible on June 5th. Only 3 remained by June 19th.
The risk of escalation across the region is obvious, and the impact it would have. I'm talking to leaders across the region all of the time. They're voicing their concerns about what might happen in relation to them.
The shift in Trump's tone might be an attempt to manage growing domestic and international pressure against a wider war, especially with elements within his own Republican base cautioning against further entanglement in West Asia. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Mr. Dov Zakhaim is the Senior Advisor at Center for Strategic and International Studies. He's now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Zakhaim, good to see you and welcome. U.S. officials are skeptical of the talks, even though a White House official kept the door open to progress. But what does Trump's hold and wait policy really mean for Israel?
Well, you heard Netanyahu say that they'll do it themselves if they need to. What they need, frankly, from the United States are two things. First, whatever materiel they're falling short of that the United States can supply. And second, that the United States continue to defend Israel both against the missile attacks, and we've got carriers out there, we've got Aegis missile ships out there. We can help them do that, and then help them in the United Nations if the Security Council wants to pass a resolution to stop the military activities that the United States veto. That's what they need from us. And they need time. And what Mr. Trump just did was give them time. Now, he says 2 weeks. Who knows what that really means? It could be tomorrow he could change his mind. He's done that before. We know, as you reported, that in fact he was on the verge of agreeing to attack Iran a while during his first administration, and at the last minute said no. So he could change his mind. On the other hand, he could extend it 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Now, the Iranians are saying they won't negotiate with the United States, but frankly, that too is a negotiating position. And the more the Israelis hit Iranian military targets, and if indeed the Israelis can disarm the big Fordo facility, the deep underground facility, the Iranians might be willing to talk. The Israelis do have that capability that nobody expected. Nobody expected them to blow up walkie-talkies and essentially just totally undermine Hezbollah, which had thousands of rockets. And nobody expected the Israelis to be able to kill so many civilian and military leaders and to take out essentially the entire Iranian air defense capability. So the Israelis have ways of doing things. One thing I would note, the Israelis have been going after military targets, and as your reporter pointed out, the Iranians are trying to essentially destroy Israel, at a minimum to destroy the will of the people. It's not going to happen, but the imbalance in terms of Iranians blowing up hospitals and apartment buildings and the Israelis blowing up military facilities is simply another indication of why Israel is so determined to prevent the Iranians from accomplishing what they believe is an Iranian determination to exterminate the state.
Mr. Zakhaim, the UK's foreign minister says a window now exists to end the Middle East crisis. What do you make of Iran reaching out to European officials in Geneva and the United Nations? Briefly.
Well, they clearly recognize that the Europeans are much more inclined to cut a deal and maybe allow them to enrich to 3.25 approximately percent than the United States is. The United States, Mr. Trump, and frankly, the majority of Americans do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Americans, a majority, do not want America itself to get involved in an offensive war, but they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, just as the Israelis don't. The Europeans are they say they don't want them to have it, but once the Iranians have the ability to enrich even a smaller bit, they will continue to cheat. After all, the IAEA, the United Nations Atomic Energy Agency, pointed out that the Iranians have been lying for years. So that could happen again.
Let's talk about the IAEA. The IAEA Director General still insists that there are no elements found in Iran facilities that indicate the making of a nuclear bomb. Why is no one listening to this agency? Has it lost its credibility?
Well, he said that, but at the same time, they said the Iranians have been lying. So, you pick and choose what you want. The essential bottom line in all of this is that the Israelis simply will not tolerate an Iranian bomb. And the Iranians, all they really have to do is say they will not enrich. They refuse to do that. And that is the crux of the problem. They are reaching out to Europe because they think if they can get the Europeans to agree, the Europeans might press the United States. But given Mr. Trump's general attitude to Europe, I don't think that'll happen anyway.
All right, Mr. Dov Zakheim, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us today and for talking to WION World as one.
Thanks so much to you.